Hello grade 11s, welcome back to another video. So in today's video we will be looking at SA question, like possible SA questions for economics and how you can answer this SA type questions. Okay, so just a recap on paper 1. The main topics, it's macroeconomics. So we have factors of production and its remuneration, and then we have circular flow and quantitative elements, where we have economic goods and services, and then we have economic system and South Africa's economic structure. So this is paper 1. You're going to be dealing with macroeconomics, and in paper 2 you will be dealing with microeconomics. Okay, so you'll be dealing with relationship between markets, effect of cost and revenue, and price elasticity. So that's where we do graphs. It's paper 2. Paper 2 can be quite challenging and difficult for a lot of learners because of the illustrations of graphs and so on. But there is relatively low amount of theory compared to paper 1. So you just have to understand your work. I have videos on my channel. You can just go and see them, dynamics of markets and all. I have explained them in detail to make it quite easy for you guys. But on today's video, we're just going to be focusing on essay type question. And before we do that, I just wanted you to see which topics will be there for paper 1 and for paper 2, and what type of question as an essay could be asked about the microeconomics or the macroeconomics. So you can expect 2 types of essays. There are 2 essays, right? So the other one will be based on macroeconomics, and then the other one will be on microeconomics. So answer the one that you know. Okay, if paper 2 is a problem for you, study paper 1 to the best of your abilities. Like, study it to the best of your abilities, so that you will be able to master the essay questions in paper 1. And then in paper 2, maybe it's just a struggle, then it's fine. But in paper 2, you can expect an essay in relationship between markets, the effect of cost and revenue, or you can be asked about price elasticity. So make sure that you know either 2 of these topics at least quite well, so in order for you to be able to master the essays in paper 2. So in paper 2, you can expect relationship between markets, effects of cost and revenue, and price elasticity. So make sure between these 3 topics you know at least 2 very well, because one of them will appear as an essay type question. And then in paper 1 as well, you have 4. Make sure you know at least 3 to the best of your abilities, because either 3 of them will appear. So that is how you have to go about it. If you feel like this is a lot of theory and you don't have enough time, that's how you do. Please guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Like this video, and if you would like me to do more of them. But yeah, let's see the structure of an essay. So yeah, the essay is always on section C. So you'll be given 2 questions. Essay questions, you will only have to answer 1. It's always question 5 and question 6. So we're gonna have the introduction. So the introduction is a lower order response. The maximum mark you get for introduction is just 2 marks. Okay, and it's a good starting point. Would be to define the main concept related to the question. So if the question is in price elasticity, define anything in that aspect of price elasticity, or let's say it's circular flow. Define a circular flow, or any aspect of circular flow. Talk about maybe an open economy or a closed economy. If in the main body you are asked to define what is a circular flow, so make sure that whatever you write in your introduction is not going to be repeated in your body. Okay, so a good start would be to define the main concept. If you're not asked to define the main concept, which is like the topic, maybe a circular flow or factors of production and its remunerations in the body. Okay, so if you ask to write an essay about factors of production, you can just maybe define factors of production. So do not include any part of the question in the introduction. Do not write anything that has been written to you, any statement that has been written in the question in your introduction. It's wrong. Okay, do not repeat any part of the introduction in the body, as I've said, and avoid mentioning what you're going to discuss in the body. Hey, this is guys, this is not a speech. Okay, it's an essay, it's not a speech. So you would not say, in today's topic, I'm going to be talking about circular flow, I'm going to be talking about elasticity, I'm going to be talking markets. You do not do that. This is not a speech, it's an essay. So when you introduce your essay, you go straight to the point and introduce the topic, defining aspect of that topic. That's all you have to do. It's not a speech. You not write this as if you're writing a speech. It's not a speech. It's not an English speech where you're going to present to class. So go away with that mentality. Don't go with it in the exam room. Okay? And then in the body, discuss in detail, in-depth discussion, examine. You critically discuss, you analyze, you compare, you evaluate, you distinguish, you differentiate, you explain, you draw a graph and explain, you use graphs given and explain, you complete the given graph. Okay, a maximum of 8 marks may be allocated for heading examples. All right, so in your main part, you will be given 5 things to talk about. Okay, under factors of production and its remuneration, you will be asked to discuss in detail capital, entrepreneurship, natural resources, and labor, and their remunerations. Okay, in detail. That is the main part. It's the body. Give examples, because for those examples you also get yourselves marks. Okay, have sub-headings. We will see when we look at those essays. And then additional part, that's where you will be asked to give some, in most cases you're asked to give out your opinions about something. It's an additional part. It's not mainly part of the main part. Is just an additional part where you're asked to critically discuss, evaluate, critically to calculate or debate, compare, distinguish, interpret, suggest, or maybe draw a graph. For the additional part, it's 10 marks. So if you are asked to discuss something, evaluate something, give 5 full sentences. Each sentence will give you 2 marks, and then you're able to get your 10 marks. Okay. So in conclusion, any high order conclusion that should include, it must be a brief summary of what has been discussed, analyzed, without repeating facts already mentioned. If you're talking about the factors of production, you've talked about it, just talk in your conclusion, talk about the importance of factors of production to what businesses or whatever. It's an overview and a summary without repeating what had already been repeated in the body and the introduction. What is your opinion? So based on this essay that you have written, what is your conclusion? What is your facts? What have you drawn out from this? That's how you conclude, okay? An opinion or valid judgment on the facts discussed. So even an opinion matters. It gives you 2 marks. This introduction and conclusion, you should get those marks whatever. However, like, you need them. It compels you for you to get them. Additional support information to strengthen the discussion or the analysis. Okay? A contradictory viewpoint with motivation is required. Or you can also do a recommendation. This is what you recommend. That is how you structure your essay. For the first, we're going to look at this June 2024 grade 11 economics paper 2. I did this question paper. Okay, there's a video that I did this question paper, so you can check it out on this channel. Did it a week before last week. Check that one out. So I have answered this, but I did not do the essay type question because I was saving it so that we can do it in depth alone. So I'm going to go to section C of this question paper. Was downloaded from the Stanmore Physics website. So yeah, It's paper 2. So here we are in section C. Answer one of the 2 questions from the series in the answer book. Answers will be assessed as follows. You see, you are even in this, everything was given there, and I've discussed in detail what does all of that actually mean. And then here are our essay type questions. It's microeconomics, so it's paper 2. We only have microeconomics, and then macroeconomics is in paper 1. So here in question 5 says, discuss in detail the demand and supply relationship with the aid of graphs. That's what you do. It's the main part. What is the relationship between demand and supply? When demand goes high, supply goes high, all those things. When price increase, like that's how you do, but with an illustration of a graph. And then, why is the factor market necessary in the economy? That is an additional part. Okay, it has got nothing to do with demand and supply. It's an additional part. Why is the factor market necessary in the economy? What do we find in the factor market? We find factors of production, labor, capital, natural resources, and entrepreneurship. So why is it necessary? Like, why is it necessary for the economy? That is an additional part you discuss. Okay? I am going to show you the answers to these 2 essays, but I will discuss them first before I show you the answers. Now let's go to question 6. Question 6 says, discuss the price elasticity of demand without the aid of graphs. So you're not going to use graphs here. You're just going to discuss price elasticity of demand in detail without including any graph for 26 marks. And then additional part, how does brand loyalty and habit formation impact on demand elasticity? That is an additional part. Me looking at this, I will say the easiest additional part is in question 5 than in question 6. But again, it's 10 marks. So you check which 26 marks do you know, plus the 2 marks for the essay type question, plus, not the essay type question, 2 marks for the introduction and another 2 marks for conclusion. That is 26, 28, that is 30 marks, even if you do not know the additional part. You see how you look at to answer this essay type question. I don't know the additional part. I do not understand the additional part, but I know the 26 marks and I can do the introduction and the conclusion. So I have 30 marks and I've lost on the 10 that I do not understand. So that's how you choose. Make sure you choose well. So let's look at the answers for question 5. So when you're asked to discuss in detail the demand and supply relationship with aid of graphs, you need to take out everything you know about demand and supply and put it on paper. Every single thing you know, put it on paper. So when you read this topic of demand and supply, read it in a way that you understand it fully. Guys, use Google as well. If you're studying, you don't understand the concept, go to Google, learn more about it. Okay? It will help you a whole lot to come up with even examples. And the person who is marking you will know that this person knows their story. Like they know so much, they have so much information about demand and supply. So introduction, you draw your introduction from the main part, okay? Not the additional part, your 10 marks. You derive your introduction from the main part. When you're talking about demand and supply, that's where you base your introduction, talking about demand and supply. So here the introduction that is given as an example is that the price elasticity of demand can be defined as the percentage change in quantity demanded if the price of a product change, or the price elasticity is measured on how responsive demand is to a change in price. This is not the only thing. You can also do the relationship, define the relationship between supply and price, or demand and supply itself. So you just discuss everything with regards to that topic that has demand and supply. And then in the body, here it's talked about demand for substitutes, and then there is an aid of a graph, and then these graphs are, you draw the graphs and then you explain them. And then demand for complementary goods, we're talking about demand and supply, right? So you have demand for complementary goods and then the graph and explain it. So here you have talked about demand for substitute. So an increase in the price of a good increase the demand and the price of the substitute good, ceteris paribus, and vice versa. So the consumer can switch between two goods and maintain the same degree of satisfaction. So we have product A and product B. The above graph shows the market of two goods, product A and B. The equilibrium price of product A is 12 Rand, while of point B is 7 Rand. If you do not have a textbook, because it's quite important for you to have one, if maybe your notes are not adequate, but I can advise you to download your study guide. You just go on Google and write economics grade 11 study guide. The Via Africa study guide, it's free. You can download it to your phone and then you will use it to have a clear illustration of this graph so that you understand them, and then you'll be able to write about them. So that is what you have written with regards to demand and supply. And then we have demand for complementary goods, and here is the essay. And then for the additional part is, why is the factor market necessary in the economy? The necessity of the factor market in the economy lies in the significance of the factors of production. It provides in the economy without which the economy would not function if the factors of production were not there. So capital is integral in the production of goods and services in the economy, as it is used to produce consumer goods. So you talk about the importance of all the factors of production and talk about them individually. What does entrepreneur brings? What does capital means? What does labor means? What does natural resources bring? That's how you answer it. And then conclusions. Buyers need to be on the lookout for goods that substitute their usual goods and compare their prices to take advantage of price difference. And then that is your 40 marks. We have question 6. Discuss the price elasticity of demand without aid of graphs. That is where you're going to draw your introduction. You're going to draw it from price elasticity of demand. The price elasticity of demand can be defined as a percentage change in quantity demanded if the price of the product changes, or price elasticity is measured on how responsive demand is to change. So this is the same thing. These two topics fall under the same category. And then you will have the main part. You will have unitary elastic, relative elastic demand, perfect elastic demand. Let's do this. So that is what you're going to be talking about here when you are asked this. Perfect inelastic, relative elastic demand, perfectly elastic demand. That is what you're going to be talking about. And then the additional part, how does brand loyalty and habit formation impact demand elasticity? So both brand loyalty and habit formation can lead to inelasticity of demand due to the attachment, albeit for different reasons, the consumers have to the product. So, and that is how you conclude. And that is the end of this question. Let's look at another question paper. So here we have other topics. This is still paper 2. This discuss in detail characteristics of perfect markets and monopoly. And then an additional part says evaluate the functioning of markets in South African economy. So you can decide to define what is a perfect market or what is a monopoly. Okay, in your introduction, you're Your introduction is derived from the main part. And then question 6 says, discuss in detail price elasticity of demand without the aid of graphs. You see, this is a repetition of that other one, but the additional part is different. Says, evaluate the reason for consumer reactions to changes in price. Consumers react to change in price. Why is that? Come up with reasons why consumers react to changes in price, whether the price goes high or the price goes low. Why? So you must look at the main part, not the additional part, when you're trying to figure out if you know this topic or not, and if you can discuss it to the best of your abilities, and know that you have your 30 marks and not focus on the 10 marks. Okay, so that is how I would advise you on this one. But if you know the additional part and you know the main part, that's a bonus. So for the first part, for discuss in details perfect markets, you can either also define what is a market. A market is a place where buyers and sellers meet. We talked about markets. So there are so many ways on how you can write your conclusion. And then the main part, we were discussing detail perfect markets and monopoly. So we are going to look at their characteristics when you answer this: nature of the business, nature of the product, market entry, information, control over price. And then you will talk about monopoly and talk about what is this, perfect competition. Okay, you can even do a graph, not a graph, a table. It's still fine. And this is how you will answer it. So let me just try to do it slow so that you can go through it and maybe study the whole thing. And here is the additional part: evaluate the importance of product markets. You know product markets, you know the factor market, the product market. So this is the answer to that. And here we have our conclusion, recommendation, or your opinion. That's what you write there. So let's look at paper. No, before that, this one, the perfect elastic demand, you saw it without the aid of a graph. Now I'm just going to show you the additional part on question 6. This is how you answer the additional part, and that is the conclusion. And let's look at paper 1. So for paper 1, for question 5, we have discuss natural resources as a factor of production under the following headings: characteristics, importance, factors that influence rent. So this is what you asked to discuss: characteristics of natural resources, importance of natural resources, and factors that influence rent. Okay, that is the main part. And then for additional part, explain how capital deepening will raise the standard of living of the population. So that is an additional part. You still go through the same steps, look at the main topic and look at what you know. Okay, it's very important. The main topic is what is going to push you to answer that, to choose that question. And then question 6 says, discuss in detail the economic importance of the tertiary sector. Okay, the tertiary sector is that service sector where finished goods are sold. And what is the economic importance of transportation? How does transportation benefit the economy? And for me, looking at these two questions, question 6 is the easiest one, but you know which one is easy for you. Even the factors of production as well, it's still easy. But the additional part of question 5, it's not, I don't think a lot of students will understand it better than they would understand the additional part of question 6 and the importance of tertiary sector. So for me, question 6 is easy, but you know your strength and your weaknesses, and you know exactly what works for you. So let's look at the answers to these two questions. So here we're going to look at, we asked to factors of production. So you focus your introduction on any vectors of production, right? So natural resources refer to the naturally occurring living and non-living elements of the earth system, such as water, land, plants, animal ecosystems, and minerals that drive the economy and other human activities. So anything with regards to factors of production, that will award you your full marks. And then the main mark, the characteristics, we are talking about the main thing, the characteristics of natural resources, right? Natural resources are scarce. Natural resources have a price. Those are their characteristics. There is an even distribution of natural resources. And then adding value of natural resources. How do they add value? These are the characteristics. So if you are given this topic, this is how you are supposed to answer it. And then the second one is the importance of natural resources. They serve as input to produce goods and services. They provide opportunities for international trade, agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. So you talk about them and different types of them. We also have mining, and its importance. So let's do this. Let's not, so that you can be able to go through that and pause this video and read everything. And then here is the last part, factors that influence rent. What influences rent is geography, where you are is the quality, and technology is the supply and demand. So those are the things, or other relevant response will be accepted. You're not limited to this. And then we have additional part, explain how capital deepening will raise the standard of living of the population. So capital deepening occurs when the amount of capital per worker is increased. That is when the rate of increase in capital stock is higher than the rate of increase in the labor force. So that is capital deepening. I hope you know it now. You'll be able to answer if this question arises, and then that is your conclusion. And now let's look at the second part, which is question 6. Discuss in detail the economic importance of tertiary sector. That is your introduction. Tertiary is the sector that is involved in facilitating the flow of goods and services from producers to consumers, or anything that has got to do with the sectors of the economy, and then contributes to GDP. The main importance is that it contributes to GDP, it contributes to employment, it contributes to exports, it contributes to economic growth, and is the source of income for the state, the tertiary sector. And then for additional part, what is the economic importance of transportation? Guys, you're not limited to this. When you're asked to discuss the importance, now you have to wear your creative thinking head on and try to come up with a very, very, very impressive essay. Write your heart out, everything you know, you just put it down on paper and you will get your full marks. The additional part, what is the economic importance of transportation? There we have the economic importance of transportation. 5 full sentences will give you your 10 marks and you are done. And then there is the conclusion, or we can conclude. They've given you 2 conclusions, but you're not limited to these ones. These are other essay type questions. So in business studies we have 4, and then in economics we got 3 essay questions. Not in, sorry, here we got this is paper 2, this paper 1, economics. This was written in 2023 in Gauteng. So in paper 1 we get 4 essays, and then in paper 2 we got 3. So yeah, these ones are different. Question 5 says, discuss in detail the characteristics of entrepreneurship, and then analyze the impact of load shedding on entrepreneurship. So question 5 is easy without even looking at question 6. I know that question 5 is very easy. The characteristics of entrepreneurship, and then you just say the impact of load shedding on entrepreneurship. So how does load shedding impact entrepreneurship? Yeah. And then question 6 says, discuss in detail economic importance of infrastructure in South Africa, and then how can economic service influence a country's income and wealth. You see the additional part, and not a lot of learners will be able to understand it, but that's how you check your 26 marks. And the additional part, really, it's not the most significant part of the question. And let's look at the answers. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm just going to go through the answers quickly. I don't want this video to be too long. So this is the characteristics of entrepreneurship. We discuss what is an entrepreneur, and then the main part, the characteristics: startup, manage, control of a new business, starting of a new business venture, buy and sells goods, bring together factors of production, and then opportunity seeking. Entrepreneurs seek opportunities and they are creative and innovative. And then the additional part is analyze the importance of load shedding, the impact of load shedding on entrepreneurship. That is the impact of load shedding. Risks: the risk of business initiatives or ideas taken by entrepreneurs have increased as the likelihood of businesses failing is high. So, and then you conclude, South Africa has a huge potential in entrepreneurial ability. Government and schools must encourage and enhance entrepreneurial skills for economic growth and development. Or any other recommendation. This is a recommendation or opinion. And then question 6, discuss in detail economic importance of infrastructure in South Africa. Infrastructure, guys, it's roads, hospital, roads, yeah, anything, telecommunications, anything that makes the standard of living better. Roads, infrastructure, like all the infrastructure in a country, the everything that buildings, anything that construction, any types of things that make life easy. Okay, it's part of infrastructure. So infrastructure of a country ensures that the factors of production as well as consumer goods and services will be available at the right place and the right time. So infrastructure makes things available. So when we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about communication. You see, there you have communication. We have transport. Let's do this so that you can be able to read. Yeah, communications. We have transport, that is infrastructure. Communication is infrastructure. Transport is also infrastructure. Energy as well is also infrastructure. Yeah, so energy, transport, and communications. And then here we have the additional part: how can economic service influence countries' income and wealth? Economic services, so that is the answer. Through specialization, convergence, investing in temporary solutions, and then that is the conclusion. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Until the next video.